welcome to another Biddle on Saturday night. How's everybody doing?
Yo, yo,
yo.
yo.
Excellent.
Yes.
Real good.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's all that you need to say is yes.
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 No.
Anyway, we had 2 distro challenges this week. Well, not actually 2, but you could pick from either one you wanted to do. And one of them was gnome Voyager, and one of them was Enzo. So, can I get a confirmation from the chat that says that we're actually sounding okay before we go any further? That way we don't have to make this up as we go along.
So I don't tell you halfway through the stream.
All right, we're going to continue on, and if we got to do it, if we got to say something important over, we'll do that. Who wants to go first? Where do we want to start? Gnome Voyager or Enzo? Where do we want to start?
Let's go down Enzo first.
All right. Who tried Enzo and who did and didn't like it?
I tried it multiple times.
I tried it and didn't even get it running.
Okay. All right, we'll start with PZ. Let's start with you, brother.
Well, Enzo for me was really easy, yeah? Next. I'll save mine for Voyager.
Make me laugh, man. And I start to cough. All right. Okay. You don't want to go any further. Chicken, you loved Enzo, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I tried.
I've got to say, like, maybe it wouldn't be such a problem. I mean, Pantheon and XFCE, it's just a little weird. Things didn't fit together very well. It's just like they're taking 2 ends of the spectrum here and trying to mix them. And to me, it kind of muddied the waters a little bit. It didn't perform very well together. And
yes, but this is coming from the elementary guy.
The EOS purist, yes.
Okay, so I wouldn't think that you would enjoy Enzo just because you're expecting a elementary type interface everywhere.
Because XFCE has like the big benefit of being able to more or less run a panel anywhere in any desktop. I mean, I can run XFCE panels in Plasma if I wanted to. It's just, it works that way. But it just didn't click for me. I don't know why. They just felt different. Like you could see the divide when you were using it. Like, I don't know.
Well, I didn't go into it looking at it as Pantheon or as XFCE. I went into it trying to keep a open mind to just try this distro out, and I actually thought it was pretty nice myself.
This is my little box.
I know. But we'll continue on. Adam, did you try Enzo or Voyager?
I actually tried both. Enzo, I'll speak to Enzo now. What a mess. Like I did not like it at all. Like you're mixing like XFCE stuff. I think there was like some Mate stuff in there too. Like I was like, what is this? Like it was a disaster. I tried it in KVM and it ran okay, but nah, not for me. No.
Not for you.
Nah.
All right. Who wants to go next? Dave, did you try Enzo?
No, I actually got caught teaching myself lots of new stuff in scripting languages this week because I am trying to get stuff straight on my computers before I...
Shame on you for trying to learn stuff, Dave.
No, that sounds cooler than trying to distro.
Dan, did you try Enzo?
Yeah, I did Enzo. Yeah, it's got some quirkiness to it. That's for sure. I don't think I'm going to be switching anytime soon. One of the things, so I've got a monitor that reports to most distros that it's 1080p capable, even though it's really not. So I've got to change that to, 1360 by 768 so that the scaling works right. And normally I go in and I change it once and everybody, remembers that on reboot. But Enzo did not. I don't know why. I had to go in there and change it every time I got back in. So So that was a little weird. I don't know. Other than that, it was just
That doesn't happen on a regular XFCE desktop, right?
nope.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I had to do the same thing in KVM. Like every time I would reboot the VM, I would have to reset the resolution.
Yeah, it was a little strange. I don't know why.
I wonder if that has to do with it having the mixture of
I got a feeling it
environments.
probably does. Yeah, I don't know. I got confused there.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else about it?
It's just meh.
I think I might be the only one here that liked it. James, did you get to try either one?
No, I tried Rel 6 though. How about that?
Yeah, and
It was epic.
Still using Yum there.
It was terrible. It's terrible.
oh my gosh,
It's the worst distro ever.
not
But
ever.
there's no Rel fans because I'm going to slam it pretty hard.
I don't think you'll find many of those, will you? Do they exist?
Oh yeah, they're out there. Yeah, living under closets or living under rocks and in closets.
Wow. Not right.
They sleep in the server rack.
Tyler, did you get to try Enzo?
No, I did not.
All right, Colin?
Yes, I did. I'm running it now.
And
My
you hate it,
condolences.
or you love it, or it doesn't?
Okay, well, I'm probably a little bit different to everyone else. I quite like the some of the implementations they've done. If you have a look at their calendar's really nice. I like their plug-in to the Plank for the application menu is quite good.
Yep.
And it's the only distro that I've tried on this laptop that doesn't have any screen tearing out of the box. So, and I really do like their effects as well as quite nice overall. The theming is a little bit weird. I did download some GNOME GTK3 themes which work, but I couldn't change the, I think Climby was having the same problem, trying to change the buttons over, so which I've done in Deconf Editor, but some of the windows don't honour that, so I think they're using different windows for different applications, so not quite sure how that works. Couldn't find any other changes within Deconf to change some of the others, so, but I think it's got some potential there, to be honest. You know, when you look at something like Peppermint, who uses quite a fair bit of, things that they put a lot of things together from other distros as well, different desktop environments. This is a little bit similar. I quite found it not too bad.
Except Peppermint works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Colin. Do you know what window manager it's using? You mentioned like the screen tearing thing. Do you know like what they're using?
No,
sorry, not window manager. Compositor.
Compositor. I'm not quite sure actually. I haven't really looked into that, but the screen tearing is just non-existent. Now this laptop uses NVIDIA, but I don't normally put NVIDIA on there. I don't normally install the drivers because this laptop's just got a really crappy version of NVIDIA mobile card, so it just never works well. So, it always has screen tearing on XFCE, but on this one, no, it does not. I like the way they've done their App Hive, which is their application installer, but in some cases, for me, it's a bit slow. And I know Climby is saying he's having different behaviour than what I was. So for me, it's slow. Sometimes clicking on a category was taken 3 to 6 seconds for some of them to open up. But once they've been opened up, they're okay. But when you close it and open it again, they have the same issues. So I'm not sure what the problem is there. But they've got also the global menu implemented in there as well. You can take that off from the XFCE panel. But I see where they're coming from, and I think it's got good potential. So it's not too bad of an implementation, really. I can see people saying it's a bit quirky and weird, fair enough, but I've found it not too bad. So that's my findings today. And it does search the internet straight from the menu as well. So if you type anything in the menu, it'll either look for applications or it will search directly through Firefox. So that's quite neat as well. So
nice. All right, Peter, your turn.
Okay, I've got some notes here.
Uh-oh.
By the way, it's good to see Tyler. Tyler and I used to be in the same lug together years ago in Lexington, Kentucky here. Huh? So it's good to see Tyler. Huh? Okay, Enzo, I tried it twice. By the way, we have to remember one thing. The version is 0.3. So we can't slam it too hard because it's not even a 1.0, it's 0.3. First time I tried it, I tried to dual boot it on my Alienware laptop with Solus.
Elementary was like 0 point stuff for years. Just saying.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
Thank you, Michael.
This is my report. So, I tried to dual boot it on Alienware with Solus. Had some issues because I could get the live USB running, but if I clicked install, it would not. That menu would not come up. So I ended up having to reboot on the live USB and then go straight into install. I put it side by side with Solus, and it totally toasted my grub menu. Absolutely toasted it. So I couldn't. So I had to end up reinstalling Solus. So that was a bad experience there. So behind me is an old HP P6243W that I picked up. By the way, it's totally team red. It has AMD CPU and AMD GPU.
You have my pity.
Okay.
But it's an old machine, but it's a good testing machine I picked up there. So Enzo installed, no problem on it. Didn't have any issues installing. As I say, it's an early version. I did have some little quirks. Like naming an icon, it said multitasking view, but in the system it was called workspace view. So a lot of misnaming. I had some sound issues, and I think I talked to Rocco about that. I could Enzo only on one boot could I get the sound working. And I found out it was because pulse audio was selected to mute by default. And that was a strange setting to have as default that I found. Also, the wallpaper, I couldn't change the wallpaper from the selector. I could select it, but I couldn't apply it. I double-clicking, I was trying anything. I couldn't change the wallpaper. Ended up having to change the resolution and change the resolution back to change the wallpaper, which is just weird.
So for next week, Pete, can I just give you a quick hint on your notes?
What?
Next.
Hey, my report. So that is it. But is it a working system? Yeah, it kind of works. I'm not used to the universal top menu, but it works. It's a work in progress. I like to see where it goes from here. Maybe review it in a couple of versions down the road. But it's okay.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I found it that it was a really they're trying to do something that most distros don't really try to do, and that's modernize XFCE. And I think they do a really good job at doing that by implementing some of the best looking parts of Pantheon. And I put down a few notes of my own that it was a nice mix between Pantheon and XFCE. Like, for example, one of the worst looking things on XFCE is the calendar. And they implemented the calendar from Pantheon, which is probably the best looking calendar.
Yeah.
Maybe Deepin's close, but just saying. And yeah, Colin, the App Hive is a little slow for me as well. So when I opened it, it took a while to populate. And if I closed it, it did the same exact thing again. So it wasn't because it needed to be refreshed.
Rocco, one more thing on the App Hive. I test installed a game, and I picked Bomber. Yeah, I thought, okay, it's a bombing game. I'll install it, have a little test, have a download.
Right.
It did not tell me at the start that it was a KDE game. So the install took ages. And then when I went to run it, it told me it was KDE.
Yeah. Well, it probably downloaded everything from
It did.
Plasma. They have the global menu, as Colin had mentioned, and I think it was probably the best working global menu that I've seen in a while. It seamlessly switched between the programs, and you didn't have a hiccup where the Plasma global menu sometimes has issues with itself. It has a nice menu, and they integrated it into the Plank dock, which I would love to know how they did that.
It's a docklet.
Yeah.
It's a docklet, yeah.
The desktop settings. So when you go into the desktop settings, it also has a category for the Plank and for the launcher itself. So you can change the size of the icons of the launcher. You can change a few settings in the launcher menu and on Plank, which is something that you don't see. They also incorporated the overview switcher from Pantheon, which was really nice. I don't know. I just think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a really nice looking XFCE desktop. Would I use it right now? Probably not, only because, well, number one, it doesn't have any high DPI support. But number two, I don't know how big the project is, so I'm not going to go to a distro that's maybe only a couple people, 1 or 2 people.
And number three?
Number 3, it's not Plasma?
There you go.
I feel like it might have had better results if XFCE wasn't still GTK2 as well. I think that it's still a little
It's based
crusty.
on 1604, so...
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's not going to have the latest XFCE. Yeah,
I'm interested to know. I'm interested to know how Climby went because he was messing with Enzo a bit. I'm pretty sure.
Climby?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So with Enzo, of course, it's using the elementary greeter, so I had to click the little password box. Not a fan of that.
Yes. Yes.
Bothers
That's
the
right.
crap out of me.
So I didn't have any issues with the app hive. It didn't really perform slowly for me at all. I wish, like elementary, they had like Eddy available in the software center because there's no graphical way to install DEB packages because I know GW has some issues.
Yeah.
The newest version, I know the Enzo their release notes are outdated, but the newest ISO should be on 1804.1
It
version
is.
Ubuntu. Yeah. So the little application launcher, I don't know what it was, but when I set my external display to be the primary display, and even before this, when I tried to launch the application launcher, it would cut off like 80% of the launcher, and it only shows like the part where it has the power button in the upper right corner and like the first row of applications, and that's it. That's all I can see in the applications menu. And I couldn't figure out any way to get around that. At first I thought it was part of Docky, so I just completely killed Docky, but then I noticed when I press the super key, it still pops up and it's still cut off. So I just ended up using the XFC panel at the top. I just customized it and used the whisker menu, and I pretty much just killed the Plank dock and just have everything on that top bar. Another weird issue I have is when I'm on this external monitor, which I have set to primary, I'm using the NVIDIA 415 driver. So I don't know if this is a bug to deal with that because I know they're not available in the repos. But I haven't had this issue on any other distro. Whenever I maximize an application, it shifts my whole desktop to another workspace, and I can't see what's going on my laptop display. And I don't know why it's doing that because in the XFCE settings,
Maximize or full screen?
Full screen.
Because if it's full screen, that's a Pantheon issue.
Okay.
It puts it on another workspace.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's.
How would you know that, Chicken?
Elementary is perfect.
Yeah, so I guess my review, I'll stand by what I said. It's Ubuntu but ruined with Pantheon.
Wow.
But I still think it's better than Elementary. That's not saying
Wow.
Shot across the
big
bow.
question. The big question, Climby. Were you able to print?
Excellent, Climby.
Climby, did you try printing?
I did not.
You should
I did
have.
not think about that.
Hey, for the record, they fixed those printing issues in the elementary.
No,
Right?
no. Actually, now that I think about it, I did try printing, and it was weird because usually there's this. So my brother printer, there's a bash script that will automatically download the DEB files you need for the printer and the scanner drivers. But for some reason, the bash script just would not work when I put my printer model in there. It's like it did not exist, but that's really weird because every other distro that's Debian-based that I've tried that in, it's worked. So I had to actually download the individual DEB packages and install them that way. But I did get it to work.
Okay. All right. So it was another glowing review. Steve, did you get a chance to check out Enzo?
No, I actually decided to get some work done and stay on Bodhi.
Okay. Scott, help me out here. Did you try Enzo?
No, I actually took the deep dive into Voyager. Well, I attempted to anyway, but all I could do was the live install since I couldn't get my machines. I couldn't get enough pieces together to build a good machine. So,
okay.
Well,
we're gonna get back to Voyager. Barb, did you get to try Enzo?
I tried. I never did actually get to see even what it looked like, because I downloaded it, and no problem with downloading it. I used Etcher and to make the live USB. I plug it in, and my computer went poof, and it shut it down. So then I said, maybe there's something wrong with the download. So I re-downloaded it, and then I just used DD to make the live USB. Put it in. In fact, it's the same laptop I'm using right now, and I gonna boot it from the live USB. Starts up and then goes poof, and shuts it down, and that's as far as I got.
So you liked it?
Oh, as true vaporware, yes. It just went poof. So it's like, and come on, this is a Lenovo. It's not like I'm using some weird, funky laptop from, no name thing.
Yeah.
Did you get a message that'll say this distro will self-destruct in 5 seconds?
I wish I had, and I would have. But it was like one of those things like, huh? Whoever, that's not happened ever before in anything.
I can just see Barb and Zeb together. Poof. Next.
That's it. It's gone. I was two different attempts at downloading and creating a live USB. I said, not worth it.
Actually, Barbara.
Yes.
I actually had the same issue, but I didn't think it was the operating system initially. It might be, because I thought it was this old hardware that I picked up, the old hard drive. I thought that there was a hard drive going out. I've actually ordered a new hard drive. So I bet you it probably wasn't your hard drive. It was probably Enzo.
I'll take the new hard drive though.
Because I've played around with other live USBs with this laptop, and I've never had a problem. Okay. So it was Enzo.
Okay.
No.
And so it goes.
And so it goes.
I can't believe Michael missed that one.
He's been quiet. Michael, are you okay?
I'm editing.
You've been very quiet.
He has a hair out of place and he's trying to reconcile it.
How dare you?
He only did a 2-hour stream this time.
Yeah, it was only 2 hours.
And how late was he?
He started
he's never late.
2 hours before, so that's why it was 2 hours.
I started at super late, yeah.
Yeah, super late.
I was 6 hours late or something.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there's
surprise.
an hour time frame, and then there's the Michael.
No, I was doing it for Rocco. I was being kind to Rocco. I ended the stream and told everybody to come to here because this stream was starting. It was perfectly timed. You're welcome.
That was very nice of you, Michael. Very nice.
There you go.
All right, Wendy, did you get to try it? No.
No, I was working all week, so no.
That whole work thing.
They didn't let me get away with that. Why should they let you get away with it?
Well, I was on the computer all week. I was just editing pictures. And so when you have work to get done and some images are like 6 layers deep, there's no time to distro hop.
And there was a lot of fly to remove from that rice.
Ah, no kidding. Sneaky little bugger.
All right, Thomas, you're up.
Alrighty, so I did get to try Enzo. I didn't get to try it very much because I've decided to switch to XFCE this week instead of GNOME. So dealing with bugs has been taking up a lot of my time, as well as end of semester stuff. But from what I got, to me it actually looked really good. Everything from the login screen to the desktop and all that, despite it being a little bit of a dumpster fire between the weird elementary Pantheon stuff and XFCE being mashed together. I actually noticed that mine had a 4.19 kernel, which I really liked. I always like it when distros come with newer kernels. So I don't like 4.15 kernels. I like 4.19 if I can manage it 4.20. And lock screen, again, looked nice, but like someone else mentioned, I had to click on the password box. And that I shouldn't have to do that. Like, come on.
That's a work in progress. Unfortunately, it's stupid and I hate it.
Yeah. It was a bit difficult to change certain settings, though. Like, I know we were trying to figure out at one point in the Telegram chat how to move the close, minimize, maximize buttons from the left corner to the right corner. And we eventually figured out how to do that with dconf editor. So in that same thread, I feel like some of those settings, you need to have some sort of settings manager to change those. But because dconf editor is in there, it's not a major issue right now, but something that probably needs to be coming in somewhere down the line. Other than that, the rest of it is just more personal gripes. Like I didn't like how many and how slow the animations were. I actually tried to turn off those animations using dconf editor, and it did not honor that setting. So that kind of annoyed me. Other than that, the application menu was really, really weird. I'm not used to seeing an application menu where you have like all of them just like right there, and it's a little bitty menu. It's usually either they're all right there, they're not sorted into groups, and it's taking over your entire screen, or you have a small thing over here and they're somehow sorted. So that kind of bugged me a little bit. It wasn't a huge issue, but and that's about as far as I got, unfortunately. So
okay.
It's a little bit of a dumpster fire, but nothing you can't quench a little bit.
I think this one word could describe his whole experience.
Kind of, yeah.
Where's Zeb said? Next. All right, Christopher, did you get to try Enzo? Hello, Christopher. Okay, Michael, you probably didn't try Enzo, did you?
Oh.
No.
Hello?
Oh,
hi, Christopher. How are you?
I thought it was on. Anyway, yeah, I tried both. Enzo and Voyager, or maybe Voyager since it's French. They're spins of Ubuntu. That's pretty much the biggest impression left on it. I think Voyager, it feels like, why do these exist? You could just you could get Ubuntu or one of the spins and just customize it as your own. It feels redundant. I didn't notice too many problems with Enzo. Unlike this is all on VirtualBox, by the way, just FYI. But I didn't see too many problems with Enzo. I think the only thing was there was something wrong with the global menu once. Not the biggest deal. Played your music. Terminal emulator is nice. It uses Sakura. That's interesting. But yeah, I would. It just feels very generic, and at least at this point in time, just evolution of easy distros. They've just. It's just another one of those.
Right.
I think there's some weird translation issues with Voyager at times. Like there are parts where I feel like they say reparation in one of the Voyager menus, which I thought was probably a mistranslation in some places. But yeah, I think I prefer Enzo to Voyager just because it's prettier and it's not GNOME. That's a big plus. But painfully generic is how I would describe both, really.
Okay. Another glowing report. Michael, do you have anything to add about Enzo?
No.
Okay, good. Good.
Man, a few words.
Hey, sorry, can we just make a note of the time? Sunday, the 9th of December at 2:34 a.m.
Yes, thank you, Zeb. I love you.
Michael was succinct. No, that's not the word I'm looking for.
Succinct.
Speechless?
Succinct.
No. Short.
Yeah.
Michael was short.
I mean, I could tell you things about like.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Thank you for using good time, Seb. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, did you get to try it?
I tried the Enzo for about 5 minutes. I didn't much care for it.
Okay, not your cup of tea, huh?
Nothing I was familiar with. It was too different.
Well, I don't think anybody was familiar with Enzo. Nobody liked it.
Strange.
All right, Disciple, welcome to.
Yeah, welcome,
Hello.
Disciple.
Yeah. Disciple, did you get to try Enzo this week?
He's got no mic.
He's got no mic. Okay, got you.
Mime it to us.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right,
Did it feel like you were inside of a?
Look, everybody
Let's look
disliked Enzo this week, except for me and
Or some
Colin.
worse, though.
I think me and Colin were the only
I
two.
could use it.
You could use it. Okay, all right. Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of fall into that boat because, like, I liked it, but I'm not going to use it, obviously. So I kind of fall into that I could use it boat, I guess. All right, on to
I think
Gnome
there's a lot
Voyager.
of potential it has. Like there's a lot of cool stuff they made, like a lot of custom designs and infrastructures. Like I like what they're trying to do. Like it has potential.
Yeah,
It does.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. It's got a long way to go, but it's getting there. Slowly but surely.
All right,
About the-
anybody want to share their thoughts on Gnome Voyager?
Yeah, I've got some notes on that.
All right, because
So-
I didn't try it, so I got nothing.
Yeah, so I did that on my the AMD laptop, and first impressions was they haven't changed a lot of the installer, so it still says Ubuntu 18.10 if you're doing the GNOME one. They need to update the slideshow because it's the exact same as the Ubuntu slideshow. Once it was installed, I tried to launch the GNOME shell launcher. The whole launcher was like screen garbaged, and I could barely read anything. And so the first thing I did was launch GNOME Tweaks, and I saw there were 15 GNOME extensions enabled by default. There were more than 15 installed, but there were 15 enabled by default.
Wow.
And one of those was the blur extension, and that's what was causing the screen looking terrible.
Wait, 15 sounds normal for GNOME.
Wow.
But you can't start at 15. That's just a bad foot, man.
But I will say, even with those 15 extensions, GNOME was booting with 480 megabytes of RAM usage. So that was impressive.
It's not too shabby.
And I think a lot of that is like even running stuff and having it on for a while. I didn't see it go above 800 megabytes. Until you launch the web browser, then it does.
It just sounds like they're not putting a lot of like default processes available and stuff. Like you'd have to see the whole list of processes to find out where not being utilized.
Yeah, and the other thing too is not only the blur extension, but there was this issue where when GDM would lock the screen and you would go to unlock it, before you even typed in the password, the bottom applications bar was visible on the lock screen, and I could actually launch applications from the dock while the screen was locked.
Oh, that is super not good, because GDM's supposed to be on a completely different like TTY. Like they're supposed to be completely separate sessions.
You couldn't see the applications launch, but I mean, you couldn't see the windows, but you could see it launch because it launched in the dock. And then when you typed in your password to unlock the screen, the applications were there. So they were starting while the screen was locked. But I found that the problem is they're using Ubuntu's variant of GNOME, which has Ubuntu's own GNOME menu, but they're also trying to use dash to dock and a few other things. And I think a lot of these extensions are conflicting with Ubuntu's GNOME, and when I disabled all the extensions, everything just kind of worked, because when you're using Ubuntu's GNOME, you're going to have the system tray, you're going to have the bar at the bottom that has the applications. You don't need extensions for that, because in Ubuntu GNOME, they're just there and they work.
And Ubuntu does have a slightly modified GDM as well. This is running in Xorg, right?
Yes.
Have you tried running a Wayland session and seeing if it still does that? Because Wayland's supposed to be even further separated.
Yeah, I didn't try Wayland, so
I don't blame you.
Oh dear God, Wayland.
I mean, it would have worked on this because it's an AMD computer, but yeah,
That's scary.
Yeah, so that was basically, and then once you disable all the GNOME extensions, it's Ubuntu 18.10 with the Voyager wallpapers and the Conky. That's it. That's all there is to it.
All right. Anybody else want to give a glowing report on Voyager?
Well, I'll just chime in real quick. Only because Climby, for some reason, always goes before me, and he has just totally stole the thunder. I should just go, yes, Climby, thank you. I'm done. I have 32 gigs of RAM. I didn't have the graphics issue that Climby described. The blur was, it operated flawlessly. I didn't have any issues with that. And I think, Climby, what you saw and what I saw as well with those apps, or with the dock launching, I think that was a misstep in the programming, because I think somebody was trying to address the speed of boot up. So they were pre-booting or pre-launching everything that's supposed to be in the dock or in the launcher. And though it showed up on the login screen, and you could momentarily launch something like that, I think it was supposed to be hidden that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it was preloading basically all your accessible applications in the dock. That
This
could
is
be
called optimization.
Yeah, exactly.
In theory, because like you said, there are separate sessions. So like GDM will start as like session 1 and whatnot, or I think some distros put it at 7 for some ridiculous reason. And then when you log in, it creates a new session and should load everything completely separately. But you might be onto something there if they're not separating these and they've somehow tied them together.
I think it should have been invisible. You're absolutely right. It should be separate, but it should also be invisible that it's happening that way.
Yeah.
Until you've logged in, obviously. I liked it pretty much, but yeah, it's like Climby was saying, it's Ubuntu with a layer on top of it. I liked the fact that the tweak menu, tweak app was right there, so I could go in and disable, 14 of the 15 GNOME tweaks or GNOME extensions. Didn't have any problems running it, so yeah. There's most of my negatives about that is just personal preference. Anyway, it is a clean install. It didn't have any problems installing. But yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10, 4 out of 15.
4 out of
15.
10 or 4 out of 15. Wow, that's
Let's
great.
go 4 out of 15.
That's awesome.
Alrighty.
I think that's better than Enzo.
It's actually funny you mentioned the separate sessions for GDM, because when I was doing my wonderful vanilla GNOME challenge on Arch, and I tried it on both my main computer, which is Intel NVIDIA, and the laptop, which is all AMD. When I installed vanilla GNOME on Arch on the AMD laptop, and I tried to log into GDM, it was session 1, but then it wouldn't automatically switch over to session 2. So each time I logged in, I had to manually, and I thought the first time it just froze, but no, you switch over to session 2 and then it just works. But when I did it on this computer with the Intel NVIDIA, it automatically switched from session 1 to session 2, and I didn't do anything different between the two. So
it's supposed to kick you over to, because essentially what happens, especially when you create the new, or you log into the new session, is it reloads an entirely different like Xorg profile for that specific session. And so something's getting mixed up there. And I think Pop! OS had an issue with this not too long ago, where one of their updates would cause logging into GDM or something would kind of log you in and then kick you out and just lock the session again, just because it wasn't actually pushing over to the new session. And it's a weird system.
Yeah.
So I just realized with all this talk that I tried the wrong Voyager.
Which Voyager did you try?
I grabbed the Debian one, and I was like, "Yeah, this is solid. This will be this. I won't have much to say about this." And
well, you made the smart choice.
Yeah. So if anybody's curious, Voyager Debian XFCE, it's pretty good.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, no problems.
We'll remember that.
Solid, yeah.
Well, that's probably my fault, because when Colin suggested Voyager, I didn't realize he was suggesting the 1810 GNOME version. And the reason why I was all getting bent out of shape is because I've been using Voyager for years. And just as a note for Climby, he has never, ever bothered changing the Ubiquity installer. Even when it was Voyager whatever, it always said Ubuntu, and he just got on with it. He made no bones about the fact that this is a straight Ubuntu install, and then he just puts all these extras and goodies on top. And the reason why I got concerned was Voyager as an XFCE distribution, once you sort of like tame some of his exuberance, is actually a very, very good and very nice and very good to use distribution. So when I heard he had changed to Debian, I was like, oh my God, really? And it was so bad at the beginning of the week that I tried it, got it all installed, got to the first sudo, and it went, you are not a member of the sudoers. And I just had one of those sort of like,
I got to that too, yeah.
Do you know what? Debian, bye-bye. And I just dumped it. And I woke up Saturday morning, and I thought, do you know what? This isn't a distro hop. This is a distro test. Get on with it, Zeb. And I'm actually running Ubuntu Debian 9.4 now, or whatever version it is. And it's actually rock solid. I guess I just don't like the Debian base when they don't do all the hard work for you.
MX does great.
Work. Say again?
MX does great at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes it my number 2 distro, because they take all of that heartache. And I know it's not heartache. I guess it's just after 2 years of constantly distro hopping, I just want something to work. And I've also learned that whenever I install a distro, I have to disconnect these 2 monitors first. I haven't yet found a distro that will fire up from a USB key and correctly work with 3 monitors. It just goes blank for me. I don't know whether it's my setup or what I've got going. If I go down to 2 monitors, it's fine. Say again?
Your graphics card.
She's saying you're green, team green there. That's the problem, Zeb.
I have 4.
I would just like
don't
to
have that problem.
Go to team.
No. What? So when you install a brand new OS, they all just work?
Yep,
Yep.
they do.
I would just like to point out, like, give Voyager a slight benefit of the doubt, a little bit of devil's advocate here. They are working off of 1810, which isn't quite like a solid foundation to build anything upon. Any distros that have tried to build off of like 1810 and stuff always have some like super huge glaring glitches and bugs that just shine through because they're working with a more or less minimally tested environment.
Yeah. You'll find that even in the regular Ubuntu flavors. You're going to find stuff like that.
Especially when they rebase like immediately and they just push it out. It's
all right. Who else wants to chime in on Voyager? Cricket.
We got the sound effects. You got that little thing. Where's...
I have it somewhere, but I don't have it on me. So,
just as a quick answer to Wendy saying it was all NVIDIA, yeah, doesn't happen with PEP.
There you go. See. So
Don't they have NVIDIA installed by default, though? Don't they have your drivers already on there?
No.
You
have to install them afterwards, yeah. And in fairness, there probably are one or two other distros that it does it to, but I just can't remember them. I've done
anything old enough to load it normally by default.
Just use one screen.
Just use one screen.
Don't be silly. Wendy's thinking of going to 5 screens.
When you've used 2 screens, you realize you can never truly go back to 1 screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I've got 2.
The only reason I would never use 2 screens is that it would bother me having a split in the middle. I would have to have 1 monitor in the middle and anything like 2 on the side.
Like a
You need to get a 45-inch widescreen.
That would be great.
Yeah. So Wendy, how many inputs or outputs on your GPU do you have? Do you have enough for 5?
Yeah, I have 1 more space, so it maxes out at 5. So
Are
I
you
maxed out my last
including like
graphics card.
DVI? Does yours still have DVI?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a shame. I hate DVI so much. I hate DVI.
Yeah, I'd like to give myself some the Dell monitors.
That would be the last one. Would be a DVI input.
Yeah, I'd like to get myself one of those Dell monitors that'll do the pass-through for a DisplayPort.
A little daisy chaining there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would have thought there was a few more that did Voyager, no? Or I would have thought there was.
I think they did, but they don't really want to admit it, Colin. I think that's what the problem is.
I will proudly admit I did not.
We're all miserable.
And so that was enough for me.
I was too busy trying to be the very best like no one ever was.
Oh, okay.
You said no.
I did try Voyager.
Jeez, Dave was busy learning. Wendy was busy working. People with your real life stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I think the other week I did put it on live disc. They did have somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but they did have the Voyager, the special little box that they have that opens up with their little tweaks and stuff. Yeah, on the GNOME version, I'm pretty sure.
We don't know, Colin. There was only 2 that tried it.
I don't recall seeing that.
But I did notice you guys said about the Voyager being a Ubuntu install. I mean, the Enzo was the same exact way. Like when you booted into it, the live disk, it said, try Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Or install Ubuntu. So it's not like they did anything to their installer either.
Are we sure these aren't the same 2 people making different distros?
We've never seen them in the same place at the same time.
This is true. But no, I really think, I mean, to me, if like Enzo's gone for this like modern type different XFCE, you would think that they would try to put something different into the installer because they put something different into pretty much all of the OS. So it was weird to me to have it just say Ubuntu.
I guess
Yep.
Yeah, maybe because it's 0.3, maybe when they, get up to speed and get up to number 1 or version 1 or something, they might do that.
I've got to say it is challenging though. Like if you're not expecting it to be terrible and it is terrible, you're screwed. Because I remember when I first came over to Linux, and I would find little odd distros. I mean, granted, this was like 3 years ago, but like whenever I would find quirks that just made me feel uneasy about it, I just wouldn't do it, because this is something that I'm supposed to be able to rely on and to use as my personal machine. And so if it's got an identity crisis, I'm not sure if I really want it installed. Like if you haven't taken the time to change the name, it just makes me uneasy. Now I know to expect things to be terrible, but back when I was like, wow, this is going to be great, that would have been very discouraging, because I wouldn't. Am I installing Voyager? Am I installing Ubuntu?
But the guy from day one has explained he just can't be bothered with that side of it. He'd rather play with the OS itself.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Rocco, where did you?
And hey, he is French.
I'm sorry, what, Peter?
Where did you see Ubuntu on the Enzo install?
When you booted off the live disk.
Okay, because mine says try Enzo and install Enzo.
Check the back of your.
Yeah, mine did not say that. It said tries Ubuntu or installs Ubuntu.
Okay, my one did say try Enzo, huh?
Wow.
But the grub menu says Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Well, either way, it still probably shouldn't say that. Like, if you're going for your own operating system, they should probably customize that. They put that much effort into everything else. They should put a little bit more into that. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Try to make a theme, I would say.
Yep.
Hey, I got a question real quick. Since Climby did such a thorough review on this, Climby, did you notice the Voyager box application? And maybe you could tell us what that's about, because it really confused me.
I can turn the machine on and see if I can find it.
Voyager box
customization thing.
Yeah, it's the customization thing. It was in the XFCE as well.
Is it? What's it called? Because it's not called box.
No, it's Voyager. Voyager something. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Voyager box? Yeah, maybe it is that. Yeah.
It's just box. It has a real simple night mode, net speed, conky control, reparation, and system.
Yeah, that's the
infos.
one. Yeah.
Well, it's not in the Debian version.
Right.
All right. This would be the Voyager GD.
Yeah, which is strange.
Anybody have experience with that or know what that's all about?
It just gives different stuff. Like, for example, system info gives you Neofetch, beloved by Unix porn, reparation. I'm not sure what it does. It changes mode between night, dark, and day.
Well, it shows night mode on mine, but no option to take it off of night mode.
Night
It's just not
daytime.
Exactly. It's just it just looks very pathetically put together. I'm not actually sure how useful that is, but it's just pointless to me.
Yeah, definitely not in the Debian version.
You can do things like you can tick off net speed, but it doesn't tell you what that does, what it's for, or
I think they were trying to mimic the customizations or the little like in the XFCE version they had these little what can you say, launchers and stuff sort of on the desktop on the sides.
Yeah, they're XFCE. They're actually XFCE panels, and as you say, they open up all sorts of, trickery pokery that the guys built. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they were sort of trying to implement that type of thing. I think maybe, I'm not sure. That was in the GNOME.
All right, I was going to go to Matt, but he decided to drop out. So I'm sure he would have given a glowing report to Enzo.
I scared him off.
I know he would have.
Wasn't it his suggestion that we?
Yes, it was.
Well?
That's why he's not here.
I was looking for his opinion on it. But...
He's doing a Ryan, eh?
Yeah. Yep. All right, so moving on, we need to pick one for next week. Any suggestions? I know we have Magia coming out, the 7 beta, and we have Linux Mint Tessa beta.
MX18 beta.
Unless you want to just pick something else and wait till the betas become, regular releases. Especially, I think, with Linux Mint, I think we should probably wait until it's out so we can give it a good evaluation. But
Have we done Solus recently?
that's a big negative.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty good. Oh,
I actually heard that Solus has been doing stuff to improve gaming, especially with Steam. So
there's also been a lot of talk of SUSE and Gecko in the channel or the group.
Ew.
Can we try?
Has anyone here ever tried ClearOS?
I think we
Or
did
Clear Linux?
Gecko a few months ago, guys.
Yeah, we did do Gecko.
We did.
I don't think we did Clear.
I wouldn't suggest it.
No.
Clear?
Yeah. Clear,
It's very much a pure performance oriented bed of cut down everything.
Yeah, and it really shines through on Intel-based systems because it's developed by Intel. Whereas AMD, it's going to kind of suffer. It'll run on AMD, it'll suffer.
It's really powerful, but also like not worth using as like a normal people distro.
The other one that I came across this week is called New OS by the guy who originally wrote the BOS before that went away.
I mean,
New OS isn't fleshed out though. It's still very
it's new.
Yeah. Well,
about that?
Doesn't have a lot of packages and whatnot built yet.
Is that new? It's not even got a website if it's spelled NU.
No, NEW OS.
That'll explain it.
While we're waiting for the betas to finalize, what would happen if we would instead do like a review of an app category? Everybody pick their favorite, I don't know, whatever, newsreader or something, or your favorite utility, or your favorite shell.
Just a quick.
Your mic
You might want to.
way over modulated.
You're peaking.
Peaking.
Peaking. You're blowing up.
Yeah, that was
better?
cringy.
Have you tried KOSOS?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
Oh,
we did.
It was unfortunate.
Well, we haven't done Solus for a while, and I noticed they did a Hackfest during the week. I think Solus.
I'm on board for Solus.
Oh, I've got something for you.
Changes to the Budgie desktop as well, I believe.
Yeah, because you haven't got to do anything, Mint Spider. That's why you want Solus.
Yeah, I'm good too. We could do Solus.
I think that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
James, way to go. Way to
I've got
suggest
something for
different.
you guys.
Go on then.
Or if you're a masochist, you could try Rel 6. Like I did. This is fantastic.
Rel 6. Try Rel 1.
Fantastic, huh?
Yeah.
I actually tried Rel 1 at one point. Couldn't get it installed. It was painful. Very painful.
That's relatable.
Wow. Taking over for Michael.
Yeah, he's taught me well.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be out of a job soon.
If only I got paid.
OS.
By the way, guys, I did have a look at DistroWatch today, and I went through all the independent distros, and I found one. I thought, oh, that would be cool to do. It's called Cucumber Linux.
Oh, gosh.
Really?
Really, it's called Cucumber Linux in DistroWatch.
Seen that.
Cucumber Linux and C Pickle BSD.
However, I may try.
Got together, had a child, and it was Hannah Montana Linux.
I may try it myself one day. I'm not proposing it for the group because it says it's heavily influenced by Slackware, and yet there's a lot of text installed. Huh?
Wait, so the first alpha for Cucumber Linux 2.0 is now available.
Oh, gosh.
I think we'll leave the alpha to somebody else to try.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not rip them a new one.
It's
Anybody tried?
That's a no-go on Megalago.
Interesting, though. It says new packages will be installable via Pickle. I like that.
Oh my gosh.
It does.
The pun operating system. All right,
Has
well,
anybody tried Snappy Core?
No.
Anybody tried what? Sorry.
What?
Snappy Core.
Oh,
Snappy Core.
I haven't tried it yet.
Is that a Puppy Linux one?
it is what you think it is.
It is. I know it is.
Well, I know that Popey from Canonical tried to run it on a laptop, and it was epic, joyous.
Well, if Popey can't run it, we got no chance.
Oh, he did.
Well,
he did.
Oh, he did run it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. He ran Fedora 1 on a laptop too. Okay, Fedora Core 1.
I'm running Fedora right now.
Not one though.
Not one.
Oh, ugh.
Doesn't he collect a bunch of old laptops besides?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I blame Scott. Scott posted the link for Fedora Core 1 the one week, and Opie had to install it on his laptop.
Yeah, easy to blame me. Go ahead. You could have not pressed the button.
I like the idea of reviewing an application.
Oh, there's Matt. Matt sent me a Telegram message saying he was waiting. All right, Matt, are you here? Are you with us?
I am here this time.
Okay. Let me hear your thoughts on Enzo, Matt, because you're the one that suggested it.
Other than the fact that I've been hearing dumpster fire.
Yes, pretty much. Hey, I happen to like it. Colin happened to like it.
Okay.
Spider liked it.
Min Spider liked it.
The short version. I like what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It took me 3 different computers to actually install this thing.
Yeah.
I tried it on the Sony Vaio Duo. The optical trackpad didn't work. Couldn't left or right mouse click at all. So that was a no-go there. I tried it on a machine from like 2010. That legitimately wouldn't even boot into X at all. And I ended up finally getting installed on the.
He'll be back.
I ended up getting it installed on the.
I'm dead.
Well, there goes chicken.
Chicken's frozen.
Oh.
Yeah. And I ended up getting installed on the Surface Pro as the machine I used it on. So fail on the install, to say the least.
Way to go on the suggestion, Matt.
Hey, I just said it looked interesting. I didn't say I tried it yet.
Yes, you did. It did say that, and it actually was interesting. So go on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how I feel about their version of an app store. I like some of the improvements. I don't like some of the improvements. I'm not a fan of the GNOME software anyway, so take that for what it is. I do like some of the thing. I like the global menus that they have because I'm a Unity user still, so I do appreciate that. I'm not sure how I feel about the Pantheon menu essentially being in XFCE. I'm conflicted because I like the fact that they're trying to essentially update XFCE so it doesn't look like it's from 1999.
That's a very noble attempt.
Other than that, I didn't really have any crash issues once I got installed. The animations were slow, but I think that's more of a Pantheon issue.
They're slow in general, and they don't honor the toggle thing in dconf.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't mess around with the dconf. I could care whether or not my minimize, maximize stuff's on the left or right. I really don't care. So
I do.
When did we last do MX Linux? Since he's got new betas coming out.
The problem with MX at the moment is the NVIDIA drivers won't compile yet. They haven't finished them.
Yeah,
so it's really not a good idea.
Well, it's still too beta.
Some labs pulled one out, didn't they, on the 1st of December?
What's that?
Bunsen Labs put one out, but then that's just the Debian spin of the old Crunchbang thing, I think.
That's something I'd love to revisit, though.
Yeah,
That's a fun distro. I like that one. Bunsen Labs.
Bunsen Labs.
Bunsen Labs.
I used one of those in science class once.
Yeah.
Those are Bunsen burners.
Well, it's going to end up burning up anyway.
I was going to say, chicken, are you saying it's going to be a dumpster fire?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what he's saying.
One of many in the Lex world.
So Bunsen Labs is a Disco Inferno?
Oh.
Burn, baby, burn.
Disco Dingo, right?
Dingo.
You know, Red Team can go ahead and test MX if you want.
Yeah, chicken.
Hey, you know what? We're winning.
Wow.
So.
All right.
Second,
Well,
if we're going to go with Bunsen Labs, it says here, if you go to their website, that it's a distribution and it says based on Crunchbang. Isn't Crunchbang defunct? Deader than Eddie's Big?
It says it's a continuation of.
Yeah, a continuation. In other words, Crunchbang died and the community took it over.
Yeah.
It says the current release is Helium derived from Debian 9.
Yep. It's 9.6 now.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I would like to try it.
I'll take a look at it. Maybe it won't go poof on the live USB. Oh, that was weird.
Someone's got really weird mic feedback.
It's not me, I swear. I can hear it.
It's not me. I can hear it. It's not me.
Sounds like it's windy.
Also, I
Windy or
hear
windy?
like talking or something in the background.
All right,
Like
well-
there's a TV going or something.
we'll revisit
the
we'll
TV
revisit
might-
we'll revisit the picking a distro. But I just want to say I'm going to post a link in the YouTube thing, and I posted it in the Telegram group earlier. And how about that win-win for Team Green in Phoronix website?
I don't see anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. It was a 18-way comparison, I think it was, for NVIDIA versus AMD in video cards on Linux.
Well, that's the thing is like you can't really deny that NVIDIA has just the more powerful hardware. That's just what they've got.
Even with the Vega 64, it was still it still did not go past. Not even the 1080 beat the Vega 64 in most of the tests.
It also depends on which card though, because they're not all clocked the same.
Well, you have the 1080, then you have the 1080 Ti's. And
They were probably standard.
They're not all clocked the same, but still, I don't know. I don't know if he listed the clock speeds on them. He might have, I guess, but I didn't see the clock speeds on the cards. But just taking a 1080 off the top and having it perform probably 20 to 30 to 40 FPS better than a Vega 64 is impressive.
That's a huge
And then going all the way up to the 2080s where, it completely blew everything away.
Yeah.
I think it was I know that, I'm not trying to bash AMD. I'm just saying I hear everybody talk about, the new Vega cards and Team Red and everything, and we have problems on NVIDIA. Yes, we have terrible problems on NVIDIA. But if you want the best performance out of a video card, even on Linux, NVIDIA is the way.
The real pain point for AMD right now is that, you could see it with the 590 launch, is that they don't have anything right now. They're busy preparing, what is it, Navi?
Hey, listen.
Their CPU stuff is going really, really strong right now. They're already prepping the 3 series, or is it? I think it's like the 3000 series. Sorry,
Threadripper.
But the thing that the issue that they're having is that they need to respond in some way. So they push the 590 because that's all they really have right now. And they could just make a bigger, badder Vega that sucks power from the wall like nobody's business and absolutely just destroy everything. But I think they're probably done with that. It's been a while since they've gone that route.
So also it's a bit of a software thing as well. NVIDIA actually has like a proper Vulkan implementation as compared to like RADV and stuff that AMD is working with. Now AMD is working, to open source their Vulkan stack, and NVIDIA's obviously got a lot of proprietary bits.
It's worse because it's open source.
No, it's worse because it's worse.
Yeah.
But and so they have a proper Vulkan support. The NVIDIA cards just by their nature are better at OpenGL performance than AMD's. Same thing with DirectX 11 and before on Windows. The AMD cards are not as streamlined. Now AMD's cards are superior in the Vulkan area, but if they don't have a good Vulkan stack to work with, they're at a disadvantage.
I would really like to see. Remember the old card where it was essentially 2 AMD GPUs like stuck on a chip and running it? I want Vega that.
Let's just Crossfire on one card.
I was
Basically, the Vega, the Threadripper of Vega, essentially.
That'd be great.
That would be awesome.
I really want that.
Chicken, no, you're not getting a 4870 X2. Sorry.
That would be so good.
I don't think Crossfire support is really that great on Linux anyway.
I feel
SLI
like it
is
would be
not
better
either.
if it was done within the chip, the card itself, though, because that's not exposed to the system as much as actual PCI Crossfire.
It's still red as Crossfire.
Really? So they didn't? Oh, I thought they had patched that stuff and because didn't they make 2 cards like that?
Yeah, they did.
Did they both suck
4000
that
and
bad?
5000 series.
I think
That's
you can
unfortunate.
keep the tradition going and buy a new card during the show.
I agree.
Hey,
I
know
think
what?
Chicken should buy a 2080 Ti.
I did this with my phone. I did this with my laptop.
Let's do it.
My graphics
live right now.
Let's do the CPU now, Chicken.
I need to actually upgrade it. I've got the 2700 in here right now.
Start clicking.
I'm waiting for
I
the
was going
3
to say,
series.
if you're going to go buy yourself a new graphics card, wait a year and get the new Intel graphics card that's coming out.
like he's going to wait a year?
Yeah.
That's not possible.
Wait 5 minutes.
Dude, the Intel graphics card is supposed to have amazing support on
It's looking really good.
He's going to be
But-
lucky if he makes New Year's.
Right?
But keep in mind, he's really fickle. He loves something, then finds something else, and the latest new keyboard candy, and off he
It
goes.
has to be perfect.
You haven't tested it. There's no such thing
Intel
as
one later.
perfection.
Actually, the first thing I'm working on fixing is I'm actually using 2 separate types of RAM in my system.
How?
Because so I'm using all 4 slots, but they're separated. So this one's like the P and Y, and then the core separate.
Yeah,
because
why?
I didn't remember which one I had, so I went and bought a different one.
Take out the old ones and look.
I could have done that, but that would be
Open up the case, and
That'd be too easy.
that's
really
way
easy.
above my pay grade.
And just so that you know, I won't be spending £1,355 on an RTX 2080 Ti.
Oh man,
there you go.
compute power in that is so
So
beautiful,
expensive.
but it's not.
It's not worth it.
It's definitely not worth the money right at this moment.
It's an
I mean,
experiment.
Yeah.
Especially when ray tracing isn't even available on Linux yet.
Yeah, it's
Like,
it's
it's-
definitely too much money right now. I'm just saying that if you already have a 1080 or like I said, I'm not trying to bash AMD, but I constantly hear about AMD, Team Red, Nvidia stinks. Okay, Nvidia stinks sometimes. It really does. Okay, and there are many issues with Nvidia. But like I said, if you want the performance, you want the best you can get right now,
Gillette.
you got to go with Nvidia.
Yes.
Right?
I was going to say, Rocco, I think the biggest thing that what people have to determine is if you want the best performance, go NVIDIA. If you want the best out of the box experience with a Linux,
Go NVIDIA.
AMD.
Go with,
Yes, but okay, but see, it
I
depends
think
on
that's the
the use case, Matt, because you say out of the box, but out of the box for somebody who doesn't play games, yes, I would agree you go with AMD.
that's
Even if you do play
But if
games, 'cause
you're-
you
but
still
if
have
you're
to
one-
install the drivers for NVIDIA.
But if you want the out of the box gaming experience,
Exactly.
AMD, you still have to install the pro drivers.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You actually don't. The only time you need that is for OpenCL.
Yeah, the kernel drivers perform so much better than the pro drivers at gaming.
But see, you still have to install other things though. So if somebody loads up
Mesa, yeah, I was going to say, like you were saying, Adam. You know, you have to have the newest version of Mesa if you want the best performance.
You don't.
Actually, if you want the best performance,
you do.
performance with the newest improvements, you have to have the newest version of Mesa.
So unless you're on a rolling release that automatically gets the newest one, you're going to have to go out of your way to get the other ones, and you may as well went out of your way to get the proprietary drivers and get better performance.
But it's not that big of a difference. That's what I'm saying. Is that
But
between
there's a
what you're
huge
going to
difference
see
between an AMD, Ryzen 64 and my GTX 1070 Ti. I mean, I couldn't get more than 80 frames a second out of
your
it.
card, I think, was not a good example, though.
Possibly not, but it was still £555 worth of AMD Vega 64.
Yeah.
As soon as I put a 1070 Ti in, I was up to 140, 150 frames a second.
Yeah.
And actually, in those Phoronix tests, the 1070 Ti performed right near the Vega, which is
pretty close.
surprising.
They've had a lot of optimizations. Yeah.
So, and there's also mention about AMD supporting this or AMD working with this, and NVIDIA doesn't get much credit for working with Linux because they don't work well with Linux, but NVIDIA does work well with games in general. As far as the day Battlefield 5 launched, they put out a specific driver optimized for Battlefield 5.
That's because everything's made for NVIDIA.
That's what I'm saying. But that, to me, is good support. It may not work on Linux, but it's good support. Okay?
True.
But it's still not great if your computer freezes before you get the proprietary drivers installed. I had that problem quite often with NVIDIA, and I don't want to be worried, is this update going to get finished so I can get the proprietary drivers installed? Because now the update's screwed and I have to start all over again.
That's the fun part, Wendy.
No, it's not.
You install the drivers before you do the update.
Unless it's Solus before, and then you had to do the update before you installed the drivers.
Hi, my name is Dave, and I run Arch.
But having said all that,
I switched my card and I tried Solus for the first time. I tried to install the drivers first, and in doing that, then my machine wouldn't shut down properly.
The first thing you do should always be to update. If updating even with the Novio drivers breaks, that is totally on the maintainers of that OS, because Novio is an open source thing. Like, that's not on the fault of the card or anything. That's just whoever's maintaining that not doing what they need to do.
Wendy, did you have to shut down any kind of like PCI Express power management or anything like that?
Yes, I did. On this system, before I could even install Linux, period, I had to shut down a PCI power management setting.
That's about right.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
But as
Not
much
really
as I love
a problem
NVIDIA, my next PC will be pure AMD.
Including the video card?
Initially, but I shall make sure I've got some funds just in case.
Well, because I thought about putting a new PC together, but that's way too expensive to go like with a Threadripper because Tyler's crazy. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
bonus money there.
That's the funny thing about AMD is, like, in terms of gaming, both on the Intel side and the NVIDIA side, they have a win because things are optimized not only for them, but single core performance on Intel is great because gaming performance, on NVIDIA is great. Whereas AMD, compute performance is where they really shine. AMD on the CPU side absolutely crushes Intel when it comes to actually utilizing the entire set. On the GPU side, they absolutely crush NVIDIA with the exception of Quadro type stuff. On the level of whatever they're using, in terms of compute performance. Assuming OpenCL, yeah, absolutely. They absolutely crush the NVIDIA counterpart. But gaming, if you're doing gaming, NVIDIA is just better at it.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I'm a little more biased towards AMD's, because with what I do with my graphics card, the AMD hands down has been so much better.
But aren't computers for gaming?
That's what I thought.
Yes, they are.
You get a server if you want to work.
not.
Question about
lies, Barb. Lies.
I don't know. I don't game.
Well, no,
I can't help it. I do.
To be honest,
my computer.
for decades, I've been hearing that it's the gaming industry that has been pushing the computer industry to get better and better.
That's not entirely accurate.
No, It's web browsers. It's
They've been
absolutely
pushing the
web
wrong
browsers.
Yes,
parts.
it's web browsers. I agree.
The
Anyone
things that are
remember,
pushing the computer
Vista?
industry, the things that are pushing the computer industry are three major things, and that is gaming partially. It's the military, and then believe it or not, it's the porn industry. I kid you not. I am not joking.
Hang on, guys, but the military.
Okay, well, this is a family-oriented show, so we can leave that out.
If it weren't for that, AI would be years behind.
It can't be the military because the military in the UK are still using XP.
Yeah.
Here in the US is too.
But the other thing is, if it weren't for DARPA, we would be years behind in technology. We wouldn't have GPS yet if it weren't for DARPA.
They're running nuclear submarines 2 miles down with XP, for goodness sake.
I remember that
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, would you rather them run Windows 10?
I mean,
this is true.
Because then Microsoft tell us where they are.
At least then, Zeb could hack in and shut them down if they got uppity.
Thomas, don't mention porn industry again, because immediately Barb's cats appeared.
Anyway,
Okay, well, we can drop that content. I'd appreciate that.
We can actually generalize it.
Otherwise, I'll have to put people in the waiting room.
Speaking of Barb, I got to tell you something. I last week I was on. I mentioned I had the 419 kernel in here, and actually I think I had 14.9.6. And Michael had said, "Oh, the .4 is the stable," so I backed. I went back to the .4, and I had my first kernel panic in Mate, and then I've had freezing going on. So I went back to the 4.15 today, and we'll see if it keeps up or not. But interestingly enough, I thought that was the problem. I dual booted Peppermint on my other SSD that's been just sitting in there, and I had a freeze in my computer. I thought, tell me I've got something wrong with the motherboard. But what I did have in here is I've been using CheiroDoc, and there was I can't remember where the OpenGL setting was at in there, but I don't know if something with comp is, if it's the CheiroDoc, something like that, but I took a bunch of stuff out that was related to that, and Peppermint was fine after that. So I don't know if you're aware of anything, seeing as you're a big Mate user, but I haven't had that problem, and all of a sudden it started. So
I never
a
had
hardware issue because this is a new computer.
There are a lot of
in any on any machine that I've used Ubuntu Mate on, I have never had a kernel panic.
But have you ever updated past what they?
No. I usually stick with that. But I'm running Gecko Linux Tumbleweed with the Mate desktop, and I think the kernel is a lot higher than 4.15, and that hasn't done anything either. That's worked perfectly.
In regards to kernel stuff, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter too much on which particular Ubuntu flavor you're using, or even if it's an Ubuntu-based distro. For the most part, kernel upgrades shouldn't matter too much. Like if there's a kernel panic, it's usually not related to the desktop itself. It's mostly related to the actual kernel itself, or whatever it's referencing. So if like the init ramfs like wasn't properly updated, it's not pointing to the right place. Usually it shouldn't matter on the desktop environment itself. Sometimes you can experience it's caused by like the graphics stack, but in terms of Mate, they're supposed to be getting a lot of fixes coming up to kind of fix stability issues with the desktop, because as it is right now, it's really unstable and stable it's only stable if you don't really touch it. There are a lot of issues that it has right now that are being fixed.
For instance, give some for instances. When you say you don't touch it, you mean you're just running it plain and never can customize it? What are you talking about?
Well, a lot of Mate things in regards to some of the layouts, whether it be the global menus, whether it be changing the actual mutiny stuff, the way that kind of dock is set up. There's a lot of issues that came from that entire configuration that are just kind of being hammered out.
So it really depends on which theme you're using then.
No, not the theme. No. It's the actual panel processes themselves. They are just inherently unstable right now. And Mate is typically very, very stable. there's just a lot of quirks in its current state that
Yeah,
are
the control panel I mentioned too, and I did do some reading up and found that that's been a thread for the last few releases, where on some of them the panel you can't scroll all the way to the bottom unless you expand it.
Yeah.
But the panic that I had it seemed like it was a pretty common one. INAT, I'm trying to think of what the scripting was. Anyway, bottom line, it said there was something corrupt in the boot sequence. And I went in and it's the first time I've ever done this. I'm not huge in that, but I did a manual fix and was able to get it back again. But I thought, tell me I'm going to have to redo this. But the thing that I'm finding, I guess my point being, though, is I don't know if it was just a Mate thing, because, again, installing Peppermint, I don't have problems with any Peppermint. I use the same flash drive to install on 2 other machines and no problems with it. I put it in here today, and first thing I did was put the Docker, Cairo dock in, and then I think Compiz in it or whatever, and tweaked it the same way I had the other, and then boom, all of a sudden I got everything froze again. So then I have had I take that back. I've had 1 or 2 freezes on the other computer, the little one with Peppermint, but I'm not sure what's caused that. It seems like it might be a browser issue or something. I don't know. But even when I was sitting listening to Spotify, which might be explaining the thing too, maybe it's a flat pack thing because I'm using Spotify, and I was working on the computer behind me doing a design, and all of a sudden it just hung. It was and I had to actually hard reset this thing 3 or 4 times. So I'm hoping it's not maybe something with the motherboard or whatever, but I don't know. It just seemed too coincidental with the stuff going on, and I don't know if it's something, because I've noticed a lot of kernel releases coming through on all the distros lately.
Because I think we're on like 419.8.
8, yeah, yeah, and I didn't look to see what's quote unquote stable other than the .4 that Michael said. I didn't look to see if any other.
Are you pulling it in from Ubuntu kernel update utility?
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be in Ubuntu's like stable mainline repo, so that's where it should come from.
Yeah, because the only ones right now that are technically beta or whatever is the 4.20s. But so
okay, I just checked my my Gecko Mate. And it's the kernel is 4.16.12, so it's not pushing as high as what yours is. It's not,
Yeah, well, I went back to 4.15 dot whatever. I don't know if it's 7 or it was. Let me see.
Oops.
But it was very unnerving because for the longest time, I have not had really one real issue with this, other than, I always complained about expanding the windows. I can never remember the shortcut that Zav always uses, to grab a window. It was a shift something or whatever. But yeah, this is 415.42.45.
Because mine is running, the one I'm actually on right now, let's see what it says, 415.0-42.
Right. That 4.5.
And that's for 18. That's for Ubuntu Mate 1804.
Right. Yeah. And I thought, well, I'll try going, because I heard there were some releases and patches up in the 19s that were supposed to correct some security things. So I thought, well, I'll try going up a little higher, and now all of a sudden I started having this stuff happening. But I guess what I was suspect about. Zeb, do you know what kernel Peppermint's on?
It's the 4.15, I think. Whatever Ubuntu's on.
Yeah, so that's exactly my point. Is why would that distro do the same exact thing unless it's a hardware? So I don't want to see. I'm not blaming the distro right away because,
Yeah, but that's also assuming that it is the kernel, though.
What's that?
That's also assuming that it is the kernel. It may just be, I've had Ubuntu Mate go weird on certain installs that I've done.
But why would 2 different distros do the same problem all of a sudden? That's my point. So
are they? And they're both. Did you upgrade the kernel on Peppermint also?
No,
or not? No, so that was still running the 4.15.
Then it might not be directly kernel related. They are both still based on Ubuntu, and both still have a lot of the same underlying system components.
Yeah, but if he didn't have a problem with it before and he's suddenly having a problem with it, like with Peppermint.
That could be from an update.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
an
again-
Ubuntu base update, you know?
Yeah, that's true too, because there's been a lot of those coming down lately. I've noticed too. There's been a matter of fact, today and yesterday both had 2 Ubuntu based updates.
Yeah, there were 2. Yeah, I saw that.
Everyone's prepping for the new hotness.
Well, I wanted to bring up something else, and I posted a link in the YouTube chat and in the Zoom chat, and it's about the new release of KDE. And it's not really about the release of KDE, and I'm not here to bash KDE because I'm running KDE right
I thought you really liked KDE.
I'm running KDE at the moment. So I'm not here to bash it. But I just wanted to point out, you know, like, okay, so like a lot of times people, including myself, you know, everybody makes fun of me because I have the weirdest problems sometimes, you know, that just don't happen anywhere else. And it just runs fine for this other person or these other people. And if you look at this post from Nate from the KDE team and scroll down to the bug fixes and performance improvements. Now, the reason I bring this up is because, you know, you talk to Michael, you know, and he will point out that Plasma is the best ever and it never has any issues. And it does have issues, and I run into issues, but then nobody else seems to have these issues.
How about that broken system tray, eh?
Well, you never really hear of it, and then all of a sudden this bug performance list comes out, this bug fix list that comes out, and it's like, well, if you just go into the top one, choosing a particular app as your default browser now actually works when the one listed in the combo box is already the one you want and you don't need to change it. Now, if I had that issue, how would I explain that issue to somebody else? And they would look at me like, I don't have that problem. And you go down the list, and all of these are just like specific case scenarios, like made the global menu work with a few more odd apps. You know, like all of these are just specific fixes for things that most people might not even see. But then you have people like myself who might run into that, and then I look like the crazy guy because, man, this doesn't happen to anybody else.
I think that's kind of a core issue with KDE is that they cover such a broad range of functionality that there are so many possible combinations for things to just not work.
Right. And like I said, it just cracks me up every time I see this, because I see this every time KDE comes out with a new release. They come out with this huge bug fix list that they fixed, and it's great. Okay, so in Dolphin, when using icon view and icons are sorted by size, going back no longer selects multiple unrelated files or folders. Now, if I said to you last week, man, I'm using Dolphin, and if I had, you know, I wouldn't know that it's particularly related to having the icon view on or having those icons sorted in a specific size, but I would say, hey, man, I'm going back and it's, you know, automatically selecting these files. And you would look at me like I'm crazy, but it's obviously a problem, and there's no way for me to think that through and say, oh, I wonder if it's be related to a certain size of the icon or a certain So what I'm saying is these problems that you're having, Joe, the problems that you're having, you know, could be just, there's a multitude of things that it could be.
Well, there's another thing also, Rocco, and people forget about this, and I'm looking at this from the software development point of view. Sometimes you can go, you sit there and you're using your computer for an hour, whatever it is, and you do a whole bunch of different keystrokes and commands and whatever. And it sometimes is just that combination that then causes like some real fluky thing. Try to reproduce that. You can't, because you don't know what you did for the last hour, half hour, 15 minutes. And that's something as a software developer, that's something that's probably the hardest thing to figure out when somebody says it did blah. And then what are you going to say? What did you do for the last half hour? You don't know if that's it or not, but it could be things like that too. Those are really hard and they're very frustrating to the users.
Well, Rocco, when you press the super key, what do you expect to happen?
I expect the menu to come up.
All right, what if I told you that the menu didn't come up, but a random item on the panel started popping up?
That would be weird.
What would you consider would cause that kind of problem?
Well, it might be the icon size or the view of the desktop that you have. Maybe you have it on folder view, and
Imagine it's where the cursor is resting.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that the
And-
super
and
key
then-
toggles something instead of just being a globe? Yeah, because
yes,
That's some of the
where
stuff.
your
That's
mouse
kind of what I mean. Also, you can have so many weird things like that. Are you going to think, oh, well, I have my mouse over here, you know, my mouse cursor here, and so my super key doesn't work? No, you're going to think there's just something generally wrong with the whole system.
Well, another one of these
You know,
is
the first thing you'll do
GTK.
is hopefully reboot. And it
It
might go.
says GTK-based apps run in Plasma no longer use the wrong cursor by default. Now, if I said to you, man, what's going on here? Like, I got a different cursor. You know, it's like, oh, you probably mess with the themes. You probably mess with the set.
Oh
you
man,
know what
I've
I'm
got a
saying? It's
snap
like,
installed.
yeah, like I don't.
But why would somebody build that feature that when you have your mouse in a certain position,
Because they didn't.
or is it
it's
just a
not
bug
that
or
they-
something that he wants?
Unfortunately, it's a bug.
It's a bug because what happens is it's not that they built it to be like that. There's some error check that wasn't done somewhere way back somewhere in that software. Somebody either forgot it or it's the logic on it is backwards. So it's not keeping a certain setting or changing that setting.
What
when it
my
should be.
thought process on it is what I think is causing it. This is in Budgie specifically, by the way, is that the super key isn't just used to call Budgie. It's potentially an either modifier or an activator key of some sort. So when your mouse is somewhere, similar to the way you can press Alt and drag a window, I think what's possibly happening is over the panel, there's nothing that separates the super key from any kind of interaction with panel items. So it's registering it as just an activation and not separating it from the mouse.
Well, the other thing here is, too, there's no possible way they could test every possible combination of things out there. I mean, specifically with KDE, Zeb, you said about, you know, about him finding this or using this. But, like, okay, for me, I will install different apps than somebody else. Like, for example, I will use Latte Dock. Well, maybe Latte Dock is conflicting with something with the super key, which it does have issues with the super key, or maybe it has issues with this or that, and that's why these problems happen, because you got all of these things put together, combining together, and you know, this program may work fine by itself, but you introduce it to two other different programs that are trying to do different things, and now it doesn't work exactly as the way it's
Well,
supposed
it's funny you mentioned the super key because another thing too, I've got the same keyboard you have, Rocco. And another thing that started here in the last few weeks is when I reboot, or if let's say I put the system to sleep at night, you know, suspend, and I come back and I hit enter and fire it up, and I go to hit the super key, it takes literally not one, not two, three, exactly three each time presses to bring the menu down. It's almost like it goes to sleep. And if I leave it sit for a while, even if I'm doing something, typing, whatever, and I go to hit the key, sometimes after I've walked away for a while and come back, it's the same thing. It's almost like the keyboard's going to sleep on it now.
Is that all multiple distros or one?
Oh, it's just Mate.
Oh, it may be a Mate thing.
It might be a Brisk issue.
Sometimes it's a hardware thing, because I was cussing Kubuntu thinking that it had messed up my super key. No, I had a kid come in and turn on the super key lock.
Keep blaming Kubuntu, though. Michael doesn't deserve the
I've got a
leniency.
multi-adapter, USB adapter plugged into an extension to get over here. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's the adapter because Matt had discovered that when I bought this mic, I was having problems. He said, well, take it out of the adapter and see, and that's what caused it. So I did that. Unplugged it and plugged it in directly. Nothing. I changed USB ports that was plugged into the machine. Nothing. I had to do a hard reboot again or reset. It was just, I don't know what's going on. I'm keep my fingers crossed because that was just built in July. That it's not winding up being a motherboard issue. I got to do more research, but you know, it's funny now that you're saying that with the Ubuntu base updates. It seems like they come in droves. It's like in Peppermint's really good in getting some nice updates regularly. Sometimes it almost seems like too many sometimes, but I'll never complain about that because that tells me they're on top of it. But if I'm getting the same updates between two distros and I'm having a common S problem, it's very. I agree with you that it might be something that's within one of those updates then somewhere along the line.
Joe,
Yeah.
have you gone into settings and checked the power settings? Because some distros, you can actually, they'll set it so that if you walk away from your system, it'll power down the USB ports. So your keyboard might actually be powering down from the port, not the keyboard itself.
Normally, I do have, I kind of restrict those from going, the screensavers coming on, things like that. I just have, after an hour, it might go to sleep or something. That's about it. But so no, I haven't checked that thoroughly.
Unfortunately,
they're limited on their settings, even in the keyboards.
Unlike Windows, we don't have a straightforward way to turn off USB power control on System Suspend.
Yeah.
Windows has that like built into their power settings. We don't. It's really weird.
And yet Windows is so bad.
Oh, it's so terrible, but it does a lot of things we could probably take.
Well, I also wanted to bring that up too, because I know that reporting, we make fun of people and we say, did you report a bug and everything? But reporting a bug is not always dead simple, easy. Because like you said, Barb, it's not easy to pinpoint what you were doing to recreate it. And that's the most important thing in a bug fix
I will
or a
say
bug
that
report.
a couple of weeks ago we did Fedora, and I ended up submitting a bug, and they closed it out. So I mean,
their bug tracker is one of the most infuriating things I have ever experienced.
It was not a fun experience, but I got through it, and I got it done, and I'm sure I'm helping somebody else. So I mean, as painful as it is, it's a good thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah, my power settings, to answer your question, is it's never. Everything's set to never. I don't have anything shutting down. There's only two settings there. It's put the computer to sleep if inactive, and then I have never, and then it's put the computer to sleep if inactive 4, which is the second right. So there's only two settings.
Somebody was mentioning in the Telegram group that they had an issue with like Windows where it would suspend even when that was disabled or something like that. And I made a point that yes, Linux is also doing this. I think it's a systemd issue. Yeah, I know, grown, systemd, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's a systemd issue that's actually not inhibiting things when they're set. So like the user profile, the power settings that are selected aren't actually being listened to. And so it just does whatever it does by default. Elementary OS has this problem. Solus has this problem. A whole bunch of other distros have this problem. And it's kind of a common issue. So it's not just one distro, which is a little harder to narrow down then. And Rocco, you mentioned something about all of these things trying to run at once, all kinds of different combinations, all kinds of different things going on. And I think both KDE and GNOME suffer this in different ways. It's because with KDE, the settings apply to everything in different ways. Everything can be tweaked to such an incredible level. But with GNOME, the core shell of their system, the way extensions work, is that everything is hot patched. It doesn't. They're not separate applications. They're not different things happening. They're being just injected into the main line, and now you've got a whole bunch of different things modifying the same code at once.
Yep.
And you run into the same issue there.
Well, I wasn't picking on KDE. I was just using it as I could have picked any distro or any desktop environment's update release notes and looked at them. I just picked KDE because I just happened to see that one. You can do the same thing with GNOME. There's tons of things on there that get fixed that you would never, like, people would think you're crazy if you said you had this particular problem, because it's probably not happening to hardly anybody. But it gets fixed, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's working now.
Well, there's this Telegram issue. I don't know if it's with Telegram or with the way sessions are handled. If you go to log out on your system while Telegram is open, even if you don't actually click log out, if you click on the little prompt to log out, Telegram will just close. It won't wait for you to confirm log out. It just closes because it thinks, oh, you're going to log out now. So even if you do it accidentally, it closes preemptively, which is obviously not what you're supposed to do. You don't kill a process just because you might log out.
Well, for example, for a bug for KDE, I have the the one and only issue that I've been having on Plasma on Arch is the K greeter crashes. So there'll be times where I'll go to log out and it won't bring up anything. It will just, nothing will happen. So then when I click it again to log out or restart, it'll just give me a notification saying K greeter crashed, and there's no way to log out except to actually bring up the terminal and do a reboot. But I don't know how to report that to say what I'm doing at the time when this happens. I mean, there's no way I can reproduce that. So it's just a little bit frustrating because at some point they're going to come out with a bug fix report, a release note that says we fixed K greeter from crashing. And
I filed
you are not alone in that. I have come across that multiple times, and half the time if I wait 5 seconds, it'll actually come back on its own and shut down. The other half of times I have to go into a terminal to shut down. So
kill the session.
But
you are not unique in that.
Do you know of anything that it's related to? I mean, is this something that we could report? I mean, like, do you know what's going on and why it's crashing, or what the combination of things are?
No, but I'm usually digging around so deep in the crud of the guts of my computer and from the terminal every session anyway. I always assume it's me screwing up something.
Bug reports are they're supposed to be invaluable, right? Even if it seems simple, they're great. They're super useful. But see, KDE has this really issue where they do something very dumb, and their crash reporter will try and automatically decide whether your report is worthy of being sent or not based on what it thinks is valuable information. So it will often just tell you, unfortunately, this report doesn't have enough information in it to be.
I've had that multiple times.
Yep.
Which
on K greeter
really
too.
Deserve that help if you're going to reject it without actually looking at it. Like, why would you build something that just decides this isn't useful? Let's get rid of it.
At least send it and make me think I'm doing something.
They're trying to be like GNOME and eliminating things.
At least you would know, okay, this isn't an issue, and not just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yep. But like I said, I'm not knocking KDE because it's every desktop environment that has issues like this. It's just, I think it's the general overall thing that I'm trying to get across. But we need to pick a distro.
No.
No.
Solus. I don't care.
I vote Bunsen Labs.
Bunsen Labs.
We have a vote for Solus and a vote for Bunsen Labs.
Solus.
I already have Solus up and running in a VM over here.
Solus it is.
Yes.
All right. Any other votes?
What is the Solus thing?
Do Solus.
I don't know.
That's a good question. I'm still trying to figure out what
Anybody
Solus
in
is.
chat that would like to cast a vote for either Solus or Bunsen Labs or something else, let us know.
Which Solus are we going to do?
I think if we do Solus, I think you should be able to do any of them.
Not do that. I'm doing GNOME again.
I think we could still do another double one. So let's
go with Budgie.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
We could, but the only problem with that is we got 2 people that talked about Voyager. You know what I mean? Like, it really didn't get a full
and one that did the wrong one.
We didn't. Yeah, exactly. We didn't really try it. You know what I mean? Like, we had 2 people try it and 2 people talk about it. I think if we do a challenge, we should do it so that at least gets everybody to at least say it's terrible.
Okay.
Or it's great. One or the other.
It's horrendous.
Okay, Rocco.
That's just my opinion.
How about just doing Solus? And if anybody's got any questions in the midweek, they can send me a question. I can test it on my live systems.
All right. Let's take a vote. All in favor of Bunsen Labs?
I
1, 2.
Aye.
4, 5, 6. 6. All right. All in favor of Solus?
Yar har har.
All right. I guess we're going to go with Solus. Maybe next week we'll do Bunsen Labs.
Yeet.
I'm sorry, I'm
Did you just yeet?
Yes, I just did.
Solus it is.
I'm sorry, I'm a teenager. What do you expect?
Even though that was a 6 to 5, we'll go ahead and go with Solus.
That was more than 5.
6 to 7.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't vote because I don't know if I'm going to.
Well, you can still vote, Barb.
They
It
have
doesn't matter
Mosse.
to me either way. It's just,
Yeah, they've got.
Which
Bob
do you want
votes-
to torture us with?
And so
Bob
would
votes Antigos anyway.
Right. Yeah.
No, you vote Peppermint.
No.
One thing I need to know going
Never.
into is what is the package manager on Solus?
EO package.
Yeah, EO.
Is that
PKG.
is that literally the command you use?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Why don't bother
Okay.
with the don't
Just
bother
use
with
the
the
software
package
center.
manager. Just use the software center.
I
It
will
works.
say my biggest complaint about Solus's package manager is that it's not as smart as Aptor DNF when it comes to using asterisks. You can't use asterisks for absolutes with packages. So if you want to install like all of something of a GStreamer set and you put an asterisk there, you're just going to have to do it all over again because it doesn't accept that.
Well, what gets me is I'm actually in the process of working on a what's the thing I usually use to describe it? It's a AUR helper copycat for Debian-based systems.
Oh.
So yeah. So what it does is it's a front end for apt, but it's also capable of using Snap and Flatpak and installing things from GitHub. Now, it's extremely buggy, but every time we try a Debian-based system, I make sure to install that to try it out to see how it works.
It sounds
And-
like you hate having fun. But
I agree.
The thing actually works really well. The GitHub side of things is extremely buggy right now, but otherwise it works great. So,
wow.
yeah, I'll put it in the Telegram chat. Link to the GitHub. So
I had an experience building something from source the other day. All I can say is, if you have the option not to, don't.
Yeah, but Chicken, you remind me of somebody that would want to use Arch.
I see. The thing is like I actually don't like Arch very much, but I really like NixOS.
Oh yeah.
But it seems to me like you would be the type of person that would like building your own system and you know.
That's why he prefers Gentoo.
That's why I've got all these cores.
Linux from scratch.
Slackware.
By the way,
right.
guys, on the EO PKG, Ike himself actually told me he didn't like that system. He was planning changing it at some time. That won't happen now. Hopefully, the Solus team will get onto it.
Sweet.
Right now, they're actually they're working on the Budgie desktop quite a bit. So there was some really solid stuff that landed. There's like a really short little video. I'll send it to you guys. It's exciting.
Just know that you can try any version, including the KDE version as well. So whatever version of Solus you want to use, you can try that. Just know that snaps and Flatpaks are your friend, Solus, and app images.
And just a heads up, if you burn the image that you've downloaded with Etcher, you will sit there watching a load of adverts while it's burning.
Yes. They put
really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I put a link to some of the new stuff in Budgie in chat.
Welcome to DD.
What, Etcher decided to make it ads based now?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Not Windows and use Rufus.
It's the company behind Etcher
Yeah.
that decided that was the best way to go. Yeah.
I don't mind ads. It makes total sense. But the thing is it depends on what kind of ads are running and like where they're being sourced. So like I'd like to look into like where they're coming from and what they can do.
I would agree with you, except for I don't mind ads when they are in a program that has had ads from the beginning.
That's true.
I don't like it when a program's been there all this time, been one way, and then all of a sudden they just start injecting ads and you start getting blasted with it. It's like, no, that I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
It's like infecting it and corrupting it.
Yep.
Everybody got mad at I think Microsoft for doing that with Outlook, I think. Or no, it wasn't Outlook, it was the mail application, Windows 10, which that's not good. I think it's it's worse to build ads into a specific program than it is to build it into like a dynamic page. Like if I shipped a video editor with ads built into it, I should probably just be taken out behind the barn.
You'd enjoy that too much.
Family friendly, family friendly.
Anyway,
just because there's greener pastures out there. That's what I'm saying.
Minecraft.
It's a good thing they don't have ads in there, huh?
All right, so
That'd be
we'll
mad.
go with Solus for the challenge of the week. Time for the last word, Adam.
I would say don't listen to Zeb when he tells you which distro to download. With the wrong one.
Wow.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, easy. Last word.
There is no Destination Linux episode this week. We took a week off because Ryan was moving, but be ready for episode 100 next week.
Oh gosh, that Ryan guy.
We hope to have a couple of special guests on to help us out during the show. So yeah, Destination Linux next week, episode 100.
That's impressive.
Nice. Dave, last word.
Thank you all for my home away from home, and I'll see you next week.
Nice. Dan, last word.
As always, thanks, Rocco, for providing this virtual lug, if you will. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And looking forward to Solus.
Yeah, me too, actually. I might be on it for the whole year. Never mind.
You got a couple more weeks before you can say that again.
Well, what's
it's about this
I've got a
time.
bridge I can sell you.
I just had to do it before somebody else did it, okay?
Yeah, but wait a minute. Your response was just as quick as the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You said it, responded all that quick.
Tyler, last word. You're muted. Dude.
You're muted.
Sorry. So go Team Red and got to catch them all.
Yep. Okay. Colin, last word.
Yeah, thanks, Rocco, for this environment. It's really good. Also, I'm looking forward to trying Solus because I haven't tried it for the longest time now, more than probably 18 months. I was really excited about 4, but that never happened. So I'm looking forward to see what the changes are.
All right. Peter, last word.
Y'all will really appreciate Solus. And I really like that I don't have to. I've got a whole week now to work on my test machine and get that up to scratch without installing anything.
Wendy, last word.
So I probably won't be installing Solus, not because I'll have a bunch of stuff to do, but because I'll be installing OpenSUSE.
Wow.
My condolences.
Okay. Barbara, last word.
One, I want to thank you, Rocco, for doing all this. And Wendy, look at Gecko.
I did, but the kernel is behind.
Did you look at the Tumbleweed version?
Yeah, I did. Tumbleweed is still on that 0.16 kernel.
Right. Okay. Anyway, don't panic.
But thank you.
Kernel panic.
You're welcome. Kernel panic.
Kernel panic.
And
yeah.
don't forget to tell.
Scott, last word.
Oh yeah, as always, great hosting. Love your show. I want to say for anybody that's interested in trying Voyager, yeah, I'd recommend give it a try. Don't have to go with it, obviously. And thanks for Climby covering my entire review of Voyager before it got to me. A spot-on performance. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll go ahead and try Solus this time around, but I'm still attempting to get a test machine built so that I can do all the distro hopping and whatnot on it instead of my normal machine. I don't like testing in virtual machines because they're not 100% as accurate as a regular install, and live sessions just don't give you even half of that. So
right.
Yeah, it's always a great show, and thanks Rocco for all of that, and we'll see you on Solus next week.
Nice. Well, I do want to mention that you do have to be careful with Solus, just like you did with other distros to install, because it does like to take over your partitions, your grub. Likes
yeah.
to remove grub.
Yeah, Solus does not use grub. So in a separate EFI partition is required, and you have to make sure you choose that EFI partition.
Yes.
That depends on how your disks are set up. If it's traditional MBR, it'll use grub. If it's GPT, then it'll use the clear boot menu.
MBR is UEFI compatible. Legacy boot is not. MBR is the master boot record, but that is UEFI compatible technically.
And the only thing I don't like about Solus is it won't allow you to pick your EFI partition. It will go, here you go, here's an EFI partition, I'm going to use it.
No, it does let you pick it.
No, it doesn't.
If you create it in Gpart beforehand, it lets you select it when
five
you get to the
EFI
boot.
partitions, and it just picks whatever it wants at random.
You can select which one it is.
No, you can't.
It's after the partitioning part.
I'll show you the screenshot where there's no drop down.
Okay. Oh, did you make sure the flags were set to or to boot and ESP for the one you wanted?
Yeah.
That's very weird then.
Mm-hmm.
I've had over 12.
I'll show you. It happens on GNOME, it happens on Budgie, it happens on KDE. I'll show you the screenshot where I'll get no drop down.
Might be an issue with their installer, yeah.
Or it might be an issue because I've got 5 EFI partitions.
I've done it with 12.
I had 30.
Didn't you like pre-partition everything at one point?
Yeah, I did. Climby, last word.
Yeah, looking forward to Solus. I've never tried it before, so I'm probably going to run the flagship Budgie on my main computer, and I'll probably run the Plasma on the AMD laptop.
Really? You've never tried it before? Wow.
Yep, never tried it before.
Okay, I'm deleting the Budgie now, and I'm going to switch over to the other one. I can get a decent review in.
That's awesome, though, Climby, because I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. You never tried it before. That's awesome.
And I know you don't like GNOME, but Solus GNOME for me offers the best experience. It's
GNOME is
great.
a really good.
Solus offers probably one of the best GNOME experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I really liked Budgie from when I used Ubuntu Budgie. So
yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
Budgie's even faster.
Budgie.
I think, to be honest with you, I think if I was going to run Budgie, it'd probably be Ubuntu. But Thomas, last word.
Well, thanks again, Rocco, for having us on this week. It's always fun. I already have Budgie Gnome, or not Budgie Gnome. I already have Solus Gnome running in a virtual machine over here, installed and everything. So this will be fun. I'm another first timer, so I don't know what I'm getting myself into here, but we're about to see. And check out Draugr OS at draugeros.ml.
I think it'll be a treat for you.
Oh, I hope so.
Christopher, last word.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry I am a bit quiet, but not really the most exciting distros out there. I'm looking forward to trying Solus. I might also sneak in Bunsen Labs just because I just started it right now. But yeah, Solus. Let's see how 3.9999 is. Will be equivalent to 4? Who knows?
All right, Paul, last word.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Solus, something like Climby. I've never tried that one either. It'll be different, I'm sure. I'll put it on just one disk. I don't want to mess with all those partitions.
Yeah, if you don't want to mess with the partitions, you got to do it on a separate computer or something else. It tends to do that. Disciple, can you mime your last word now? Okay.
That's good. Get that sorted, dude. We need you on.
Yeah, right. Matt, last word.
As always, thank you for having us on, Rocco. Always a good time. And Solus, let's hope it doesn't bork my system like it did last time.
Chicken, last word.
I'm excited for this Solus thing because I've already had the ISO downloaded and stuff on 10 sticks because one of the Solus devs encouraged me to install them on all the Costco machines. More on that later. But I want to go ahead and point out to any of you guys going to try Budgie. I mean, you guys would have really loved Budgie in its heyday. And I don't mean to be mean, but like the Raven panel used to be like really useful. Like it was actually important to have, and the controls, the settings were in there, and it did cool stuff. But apparently people didn't use it, so now Raven is just a place to look at your notifications and have a calendar. But
music controls as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do find that the audio output, the input and outputs, you can change there. But
Yeah.
it hasn't been working for me well.
Yeah, but it's a really good desktop. It's got a lot of improvements coming down the pipe. But just yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joe, last word.
Well, before I say my final word, for Chicken and Zeb, I got an easy answer to your argument. Independent machine and a single hard drive.
Yeah.
And then you
Wait,
won't
what?
worry about it taking partition.
Oh, I see.
Just get one clean drive, one machine, and that's the one you blast that stuff out.
That's not painful enough.
Tonight, and thanks for
Boring. Sorry,
Linux
Joe.
is supposed to hurt.
That's what I was going to say to my last word. As much as I know Linux is supposed to hurt a little bit, this is getting to be more painful than the shopping budget we have every year at this time. So I don't know.
It's not a bug; it's a feature.
Yeah. Right. So, but no, you know what? No matter what, even with all the pains of Linux, I still think that it's a worthwhile effort to be putting into it. To use it, to work on it, to learn about it. Is just, to me, it's more than just a distro. It brings people together too, and we may not solve the problems of the world, but we'll certainly, hopefully, make it a better place to be working and using in the future. So
nice, very nice. All right, Solus is the distro challenge for this week, and you can use any version. You can keep up with us in the Telegram group during the week at t.me/BigDaddyLinksLive. And thanks for coming. Oh, before I forget, there was a request for links for everybody that joins BDLL, and I did make a page on BigDaddyLinux.com/BDLL community, and it's in the description of the YouTube video. You check it out. It has links for mostly everybody that's here that has links. I'll be updating it constantly for people who have not given me links yet. Go and check it out. Check out all these people's work. All right. Cool. Until next week, everybody have a great week.
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Say all. Bye.
Sayonara.